Oh my goodness me. And this is the problem. Welcome back, guys. Last week I was putting the sump plug back into the Mini and I managed to strip the threads. And just as I was about to pull the engine and gearbox out, to strip it to a bare casing, to send it away for professional repair, the internet presented itself with a solution, which is a tapered plug from Mini spares. How good a solution it is, we will find out. And it says in the instructions, if you're not careful, you could split the gearbox casing inserting it. And I thought, that sounds like something that should be filmed. Let's go and take a look. Now, a couple of things quickly on this DP2 sump plug repair bolt from Mini Spares. It's just a tapered plug. This original one is 5/8 UNC. Now this, I'm assuming, is 5/8 UNC in the middle, less at the beginning and more at the end. So it should go in and cut its own thread and get about halfway in. Instructions say half a turn in, half a turn out. Use it like an engineering tap. Fair enough. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover it in grease, because as we're cutting a new thread, because as you'll see in a minute, we've stripped pretty much all of the threads out of the gearbox. We'll cover it in grease so that as we're cutting that new thread, it's got the best chance of the swarf sticking to the grease and then pulling it back out. We'll then clean it off and we'll put some PTFE tape on that, which PTFE tape will go into a bit more detail of what and why later on. And it also says in big bold capitals, do not use any washers underneath the hexagonal bolt head, do not over tighten, and if you go too mad with it, it will crack the alloy casing. No pressure. Right, let's get underneath and have a little look at just how bad the original is. But like I say, this also appears to be quite a common thing, so this video may be useful if you've just been as unlucky as I have with your gearbox casing. One routine oil change and now we're into a load of work. It's a bit tricky to see what's going on in there, but there should be threads here, and well, there really isn't. It's taken so much of it out. But the tapered plug, as we can see, being smaller than 5/8 UNC, it will start on its journey into the sump, which obviously allows it to start square and true, which is going to make it easier to tighten in and out to cut a new thread. Like I say, we're aiming to get probably halfway in, I would have thought. In and out, bit of grease. And then we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we don't get any cracks in the casing. Now then, you'll find that this will want to pick up on the original threads. So you're gonna want to try and get it as square as you possibly can. Because like I say, the first part of the plug is smaller than the original gearbox thread. So we'll see how far we can get in. Finger tight. Annoyingly, it's smaller than the original plug in head size as well. So we'll just ease our way in, a quarter of a turn and back to clear. Oh, he's right, it's going quite nicely. Quarter of a turn till we find a bit of tension and then back to clear. Because like I say, we are cutting a new thread. And I don't want to go half a turn, because even a quarter of a turn feels sketchy. It's not nice. It's a horrible, horrible place to be. But, oh, and then back to clear. And you just don't know how much is enough, because obviously we want a parallel thread will obviously pick up on all of the threads that are inside, whereas with a tapered one, we're only really picking up on this section that's going straight into the gearbox. So we don't want to go mad. And remember, it's only aluminium. It's a soft material. I think we're starting to get there. Wow. That's taking quite a lot of returning. Before it was back a little squeeze and it was loose again. Now as we're getting more of that tapered thread inside, it's taking more to return it and clear it. Now I don't want to go too mad. We've got about half in there, so I think we're going to pull it out, clean it up. How's that cut a new thread? Oh, I don't know. Like I say, we'll put some PTFE on there. As you can see, there are pieces of metal that are, if you're not careful, ready to get sucked up into your oil pump and through all your bearings in your engine. So show as much care at this stage as you can when you're removing little bits like this, because this is the bit that could ruin your day when you go out for a drive afterwards. Oh dear, look at that. Oh my goodness me. And this is the problem. I mean, yeah. This is what I mean by when it stripped, it took the whole thing out. Horrid, horrid, horrid thing. Just the whole thread just fell apart. And now we're left with literally nothing in there at all. I don't see this sealing very well myself. Also, worth noting that the top engine steady has been removed for new bushes, so that's the reason that the engine and box are moving around as much as they are. Yours shouldn't be. Yuck, that's as much as I can tolerate of that. See, frustratingly, that doesn't feel like it's by any means cut a thread at all. But at least the fact that all of that material's fallen out, it means that there's no swarf left in there at all, because there's no thread left in there at all. So yeah, we'll give this one a clean off, PTFE, apply, and put some oil in it and see if it all falls back out again. Ugh. That was horrible. I hated that, and as you can see, as we kind of got through that, it just pulled more and more thread out of the casing. It's horrible, and I am not the most confident that this has cut its own thread, because it's not a tap, is it? Let's be honest. It's just a tapered plug. Tapered plugs shouldn't cut their own thread. But our saving grace may be PTFE. Now there are two types of PTFE: single wrap and multi-wrap. Multi-wrap is the one that all plumbers swear by. You must use multi-wrap. I use single wrap. I have done for nearly 20 years in work in the heating industry, and I've never had a leak on a heating system on something that's designed for PTFE. This, I'll get my excuses in early, is not designed for it. It needs to be wrapped one particular way. It will tell you on there which way to wrap it. It's just so that when you put it up the thread and you tighten the thread, it doesn't all bunch up and fall off. This way you put it on the thread like so, and as you tighten the thread in, it's pulling the PTFE into the thread. I like to pull it nice and tight. You cannot pull it too tight. You're just pulling it into the threads so that you can still see the threads, so that obviously you can get it started into the gearbox. Now obviously there are liquid PTFEs, there are thread lockers, there are very much more one-way trips, shall we say, than this. But I don't want to make it so one-way trip that A, it doesn't leak, and B, we can never get it out without destroying the gearbox casing. So that's bound up quite nicely. So we'll go underneath, see if we can start a thread in the same orientation that we were before. But considering there isn't really a thread to look at in there, I think we might struggle. and then we'll tighten it up, and then we'll pop some oil in it and hope that it doesn't all splooge out and go all over the floor. I'm not so confident. Right, back underneath the car, and I think you can faintly pick it out in the video. The ridges of our tapered plug that have made a very faint attempt at a thread in the gearbox, to the point that I can push it all the way in, but at least it's going in square, hey? Fantastic. Will it pick up? I don't know. Annoyingly, it doesn't take much for it to go tight. But I suppose at least it's going tight. The previous one didn't. Now again, this is where the more you tighten it, the more PTFE and the more thread you're going to get into the gearbox casing. But the more pressure you're going to be putting on that boss, which is only aluminium. So it's a very fine line between getting a seal, I'm putting quite a lot of pressure on that, and splitting the casing. I think that is as far as I am brave enough to go. Let's chuck some oil in and see if it all falls out. I'm not going to chuck a huge amount of oil in because there's still a good chance that it might not stay in there. Between you and me, I think the PTFE is doing quite a lot of the work there. So if it doesn't leak, it's going to be the legendary single wrap PTFE, which has never let me down yet. But as you can see, it didn't really cut much of a thread in there. I don't really think it's ever going to. So I think this is more of a temporary solution than a permanent one. Well, chuck a litre or so in, so that sump, that bottom like inch or so of the sump is full of oil. Then we'll go and have a cup of tea, and we will see if we've been successful in about 10-15 minutes time. 2050 is so viscous, it's so thick, it's like pouring treacle in. It's literally all sat on top of the rockers. Come on, through the pushrod holes you go, come on. Right, see you in a quarter of an hour. Well, it's been quarter of an hour, and as you can see, for now, it is still dry, which is a massive bonus. We've still got to fill it up with oil, and then we'll see if it leaks when we heat the engine up, when we run it up to temperature after it's been reassembled. But it was a repair plug, and it has served its purpose for now, and it has repaired, which is great. Moving forward, the car needs recommissioning, stage 1 kit, and a few bits and bobs, but it's very boring work. So I'm not going to bore you with the content. I just thought I'd drop in and do a little video just because that might get someone out of a fix and it might be helpful. And for those guys that are long-term subscribers, you may have a lot of unanswered questions. Why am I stood in a garage that looks relatively complete? Why am I working on a Mini that you don't know about? What's happening with the Cosmo over there? What about the MR2? What about those garages? I will update all in good time, but at the same time, there's a process to these things. And once it's all finished, we'll touch base. I'll tell you what's been going on for the last 3.5, 4 years, and I'll tell you what's going on moving forward. Because I'm tired of making promises that I really cannot commit to, and I'm tired of being a hypocrite. But that's what the internet loves. They all want to see you fail. Will I fail? Nah, be fine. See you soon.